Hello, I'm Rich Lewis. Welcome to You've Only Come to Hear United. So I said on Blue Sky the other day that I was going to do a video on United's identity, which is what this was planned to be, but just because of how timing's happened, obviously it's been Ruben Amorim day today. He's did his press conference. There was that fantastic interview that we all saw with Gary Neville as well. So I'm just going to start off with my thoughts on that first. He comes across fantastically. He comes across. We've had Erik ten Hag for a couple of years now. I think it's on struggling to get his point across. We've seen the videos, we've seen the memes, the stick to the plan, the bounce back stuff, and I think we've a lot of us have been looking for more for a while from, or were looking for more from Erik ten Hag, just to get his message across to us and get his ideas across to us, just so we knew where we were heading. You know, when things were bad, it was like, okay, this isn't great, but where are we going? More often than not, things got more confused. We really didn't know what was going on more often than not, and a lot of that came down to his failure to communicate. And Amorim absolutely does not have that problem. He comes across really well. We know what he's thinking. And yeah, well, I'll circle back round to that in a minute, because obviously, let's talk a little bit about Manchester United's identity, and we'll link that back to Ruben Amorim. Now, when I think of Manchester United and what we stand for and our identity, I think of youth, I think of width, I think of comebacks, I think of passion, I think of excitement. And they're the things that like the core of it for me. The two main things for me were the youth and our and the width. You know, I do think of dribbling and wingers. They're two standout things from Manchester United for me. That's not me ignoring our history, and you know that obviously has over time formed our identity, going back to the 50s and 60s in particular, the Munich air disaster. We do have a legacy before that too, but that was really the start of what I consider to be modern Manchester United. Now, I think we've got to a bit of a crossroads in that sense, looking at our identity. In a similar way, I hate to say it, to when Liverpool were going through a bit of a barren spell in the 90s, and off the back of the success they'd had in the sort of 70s and 80s, and they didn't really stand for anything anymore. You know, they were a bit of a non-entity, I felt like, to me anyway, at times. Growing up, getting to watch a lot of United in the 90s, and you'd hear how good Liverpool used to be, and that didn't seem to correlate in my mind. And it's sad to think there might be United fans growing up now who are watching us thinking, like, I wish I'd got to see that great United, because I don't really know what this United is. But I think that's left us at a perfect point for someone to come in and pick up that mantle and direct where we are heading in the future, and sort of create a new identity for us, and sort of incorporating some of those best bits. And that leads us nicely into the Ruben Amorim interviews today. Now, when he was talking to Gary Neville, he talked about Rashford and Casemiro. Well, I say he talked about, Neville brought it up because of some of the comments he'd made, and Amorim didn't have much choice but to address it ultimately. But it was really good that he did, and I'm grateful Neville brought it up, because instead of talking about the players, which would have been a bit of a misstep if he had done that, but he was never going to do that. Instead of talking about them personally, he said this isn't on the players, this is on the club to set those standards and create those leadership examples, you know, including himself, including them above himself. He wasn't happy with the 5 days that they were given, but they said that's not on the players. It's up to, you know, they've been given that time, they can do what they want. He felt it was too long, but the main thing was that he felt the club should be stronger in terms of they're the ones who are showing what is right and what is wrong, what we should do, what we should not be doing. They should be telling the players, this is what we, you know, this is how we will do things. If they haven't got rules to follow, then nobody's doing anything wrong, essentially. Neville was trying to talk about how the players, when he was playing, were self-governed, and Amorim acknowledged this, and he said, yeah, that's how things were then, but things are different now. And just acknowledging that, being close to the players in age, he's not trying to say we need to be what we were before. He's saying that's gone now, and we all know this. You know, this isn't something new or groundbreaking, but I do think there has been a sense of us trying to desperately marry the past to the present, and I don't think we need to do that now. I think that we need to put that to bed, of getting back to what we were. A lot of people have been saying this. This isn't new or revelatory, but actually doing it would be new, because it isn't what's happened. I think we looked at Erik ten Hag as the Manchester United manager. Now, the manager to head coach is a new distinction to make. I think that's important here. And I think it was seen as, when he came in, he talked a lot about installing having more authority in the dressing room, I think, because of maybe what had gone before him, and that had been lacking. But I do feel like, whether this was the truth or not, that a lot of what was going on, or what needed to change, was really falling on one man. Now, I know there was a big operation there, but Erik ten Hag really did feel like the figurehead, and I don't think he really ever shied away from that. I think he was happy to take the brunt of that. But Amorim's message is slightly different, and we'll come back around to that in a bit. Now, one of the other things he talked about were characters. They talked about Roy Keane, and he went on a little bit about how Manchester United need characters like that. People who aren't just a character on the pitch, but off the pitch too, and they set the standard. And it was interesting how he said, hopefully in the future we will have characters like this, which does, suggest that he does see that absence at the moment. I think we all see that, but I have wondered myself behind the scenes, like how vocal is like a Casemiro. We've got De Ligt in there. How much presence do some of the players have? Because we only see on the pitch, we don't see behind the scenes. But there was a suggestion that was lacking too. So there is something missing there, and there is something that we need. Now, another of the points was how fit the players are. This wasn't about players' professionalism or them being overweight. It was just looking at statistics. The players just aren't fit enough. He even, said in both the interview with Gary Neville and the press conference, we've got to run back more. We're not seeing that. The players they're not getting about the pitch enough, essentially. So, again, it just hints at something that's missing from us at the moment, something that we need more of. And he's very intent on bringing that to the team. He sees that as a small change that we can make. He seems very clear in as much as where our problems are at the moment. Another thing that I loved him saying too, which might go towards our future identity, is that he will take the hit for the team. As long as players are playing for the team and they're not playing as individuals, if there's something that that's gone wrong, or they need to talk about, or they're getting criticism, he's going to take that. He's going to be in front of the media. But it's a very different story if you're playing as an individual and you're not playing for the team and you're playing for yourself. And that was a breath of fresh air, because I think all managers must think like that to some degree, or operate in that way. That seems like common sense. Although I don't think we have always seen that over the past sort of 10 years or so at Manchester United. I think some managers have done it better than others. Others have hung players out to dry more. I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know who I'm alluding to there. Although, having said that, you probably could aim that at a number of managers, actually. Ollie was probably, I think, maybe the best for backing his players and getting behind them. But the general idea from a lot of what he was saying was bringing everybody together. Now, he talked a lot about having one idea, everybody having one vision, a sense of synergy, in as much as it's not just about playing one system from that team through to the youth team. But he said in the first team, and possibly the academy too, like the next tier, the tier below, probably the 21s, if they're looking for players to come into the first team, that everybody has like one way of seeing things on the pitch together, though not individually in relation to their position necessarily, but everybody knows when a certain scenario happens, the ball, a certain player is meant to be in a certain place, or a certain move is meant to happen, and he sort of did this, like the ball's here, or here, a player will know where they need to be and what will happen next in that scenario. And that sort of echoed a lot of what he was saying throughout both interviews, that the players, it's about having a sense of unity and about all the players being on the same page. Not just the players as well, the directors, the people above him, especially Wilcox, Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada, that they're all moving in the same direction. And I think, coming back round to identity, I think that going forwards, I'm hoping that identity is ultimately synergy. Synergy is that word. It's the key word. Everybody being aligned. That, I think, is going to be, and I'm hoping it is, our identity under Amorim. That things aren't fractured anymore. Manchester United are coming more. they're going to be more one as a whole. We have leadership from the collective and not from one man, as I think it's been at times. And we're all excited about Amorim, but for the last thing I think he wants himself is it to become Amorim United. I think he wants the club united, and maybe he can deliver a new Manchester United.